Hey guys, thanks for joining me. And if you like what you see, please subscribe.
Hello, peoples. If you're a knife YouTuber, you're going to be influenced by certain people. For me, those people happen to be Nick Shabazz and Dutch Bushcraft and Pete from Cedric and Ada, and even a little bit, Metal Complex. Uh, Dutch Bushcraft knives has always been, in my estimation, the most entertaining content out there that has to do with bushcraft knives. And I just find them silly, inappropriate, make horrible jokes that are also very funny. They're just great. So they have come out with a budget friendly, I'm not going to call it budget, a budget friendly knife that they had up. I don't know if it's still available, probably not, but who knows? You can check out the link down below. I'll try to link it if I can. So I am really curious to check this out. I think it's made in collaboration with Boker. I don't remember. I remembered watching them test this knife, but I don't really remember it because it's been a couple of weeks and I've just had a lot going on. First, I'm going to ask you to smash that like button. Leave a comment, really helps the channel. And as always, thank you to my Patreon subscribers. So what do I mean by budget? Okay, this is magnetic. What do I mean by budget friendly? I'm talking about 165 euros made in Germany, I guess, because it's Boker knives, but I could be wrong about but made in Europe. So, 165 euros is a lot of money and definitely not budget. But as far as like where it's made, definite, and the cost of living over there and everything else and the cost of manufacturing, I call that budget friendly because they do have a high-end knife from DBK, which is much more expensive. I can't recommend checking them out enough. I really like them. Carbon steel, not stainless. So I believe that this is made with 80 CRV2. I could be wrong, but that's one of the things that makes it, budget-ish. And yes, it's made by Boker. And this is telling you what this kind of steel does. And yeah, okay, cool. So first off, this sheath is pretty darn good. It's not the best in the world, but for the price point, it is definitely good. I just had a fire steel here. So this is my extra large fire steel that I got. I could probably force this in here and get it to get used to that if I wanted to. This sheath looks okay. Let's move on to the main thing. Like I said, I can't quite remember what this came with, or like a couple of different points. First off, this looks like some kind of rich light paper, something like that. Might flash up right now on the screen. I love these brass pins. They just went for the brass pins and the brass lanyard hole. This is obviously, gosh, it's really nicely done. Obviously a Scandi grind, and I'm right, it's 80 CRV2, which is a great steel for this price point. It will definitely patina on you as you're using it, but I just want you to take a real close look how nicely this is finished and sanded. That's really good. Now, the branding on here is a little big, but if you're doing a collab with someone, you got to expect a little bit of branding, right? I mean, people are buying this knife because of their channel. Oh my God, the ergos are really incredible, really locking in there. I mean, this says knife, right? This is the knifiest knife ever that's ever knifed. But the little bit of a drop point down here and the way that this bevel is constant across the whole thing, and just a little bit of belly here. And in fact, if I'm looking at this correctly, I think that even this place right here isn't flat. It isn't totally straight. Okay, so I just happen to have, this is also a European made knife. This is the Terra Puka from Terra Knives, and this is also 80 CV, but they've finished this one off. You see this flat part right here is actually, the part of the blade here is flat, and this has a little bit of belly, which is going to help make nicer cuts. You'll also notice that on this kind of Scandi grind, and a lot of Scandi grinds, the secondary bevel gets shorter closer to the tip. That is not the case here. It is a consistent height. Has a sharpening choil, which is great. And I'm going to guess that this is razor sharp. The spine here is almost LT right sharp, but not quite. This is very, very sharp. I'm going to guess that this throws a monster of a spark. Yeah, very sparky. Very, very sparky. Excuse the smoke. So here we go. We got 80 CRV. We just used a fire steel on it. Basically just wipes away. And with 80 CRV, you just need to maintain it. Like the longer I want to keep this knife, this blade looking like this and not necessarily get a natural patina, which I'm actually fine with a knife getting a natural patina. It just means that I'll just need to wipe it down, take care of it, especially if it has water or oil on it, anything like that. Here's a Mora, another European knife. And this one is also a high carbon steel, I believe. And it is and this has gone through the war. Like I have used this straight up hardcore for 4 or 5 years now, and you can see it's really not that bad. It's more got sap and stuff and some marks on the side, but it's still good to go. It does need to be sharpened, but you know, good to go. 80 CRV is gonna maintain its sharpness for a while. I'm not worried about that. It's not and it's also got a finer structure, granular structure than you would expect. It's kind of almost between CPM and it's almost like a spray foam, but it's not spray foam. It's something to do with the chemicals it has and the balance it has in it. Can't quite remember off the top of my head now, but that's what I remember. This would obviously look a little bit nicer with liners, but again, this is a budget version. And like I said, this really locks in the hand. There's something about this that I would almost call like a European handle too, this Scandi. I mean, obviously this is a Scandi knife. So we're gonna go ahead and test this out, guys. See how sharp it is. And what I'm gonna do is, oh yeah, I mean, just screaming all the way to the tip. And I can do a puncture as well. Just really, really nice. Look how nice and thick it is behind the tip here, this little triangle space here. So I can get in there and poke and pry and stuff like that. Probably not going to break this tip, although I could probably damage it pretty fast. I really like this handle shape, and I really like the size too. Let's go ahead and get some measurements on this, and let's see how it looks in the sheath. And then I'm going to go upstairs and start whacking some wood with it. You know, if it's good enough for the guys at Dutch Bushcraft to take out and beat to death, then it's good enough for me. That's what I gotta say. 4-inch cutting edge overall, 9. That is the sweet spot for any kind of bushcraft knife in my estimation. And then this fits in nicely. When I have a sheath like this, what I like to do is I like to leave it in overnight, and that will get the leather working in there, and then you can take it in and out and stuff like that, and it will form nicely. And then I will do is weather seal this as well. I like that they've used these brass finished fittings on this as well. The stitching on here isn't the prettiest stitching I've ever seen in my life, but it's okay. I'm sure it would hold up. And of course, if I didn't want to use the dangly, I could just use it on my belt like this instead and not have it dangle down. I could have a little bit of a shorter carry on that. That is absolutely fine. Ooh-wee! So Santa came early and he brought me this beautiful, beautiful knife. I'm going to compare it to a couple of other knives. We've already compared it to the Mora. Let's compare it to the Genesis from LT Wright, which for me is the grail of fixed blade Scandi grinds. You can see this one has much more of a drop point. It's also an A2. And this handle shape, even though it looks totally impractical because it's so thick, has actually become one of my favorite because it's so thick it actually makes it easier to work with when you're doing carving tasks with it. The bevel is at a steeper angle than this. This is like a really, you know, for a Scandi, thin behind the edge angle, it seems to me. And then let's compare this to the Euro Bushcrafter, which recently came out from DBK. And here you can see these profiles are almost identical. And this is got the convex grind on it too. So it's a Scandi convex combination here. So this secondary bevel here is actually slightly scalloped. But overall, it actually has a lot of similarities with that, but half as much money. And the shape, this locks in really well. And this locks in really well. It feels really nice in the handle too. Now, because this is this is matte finished micarta here, it feels a little bit more textury and locks in. And this, of course, is some kind of rich light or pressed paper or something, and it's a little bit slippery. Not slippery, but it's not locking in the hand as well as this. But by the same token, because the ergodynamics are so good, it doesn't want to fall out either. It is thinner. It feels thinner. It doesn't have a thicker space in the middle like this. If you check out the profiles, you'll see that it is definitely thinner in the handle, much thinner in the handle than the LT Right, obviously, which is just a chunk of micarta, right? However, compared to the Terapuco, you can see that their profiles are almost the same, but even the Terapuco is a little bit thicker in the middle. As far as blade stock is concerned, it looks exactly the same as the Terapuco, and a little bit thicker than the Genesis, and about the same as the Euro Bushcrafter, maybe just a titch bit thicker. What are we calling that? We're calling that 5/16. I'm going to call that 5/16. So a little bit thicker on the thicker side for that, but it's a Scandi, so I don't think it really matters. If anything, it probably helps with any kind of splitting or bushcrafting type tools, skills, or anything like that. So 165 for this budget-friendly knife from DBK, you know, branded by them. So the reason why I got this is because I like them so much. They seem to really know what they're talking about. And if you haven't clicked away and gone and looked at some of their videos, you definitely should. They have a great video out here about the Genesis that came out about last month, which you should check out. And they have a great one about the Aurora 3 that just came out too, which they kind of knock Aurora 3. And then they have a video about this as well. You definitely check that out. So anyway, as I was saying, yeah, I think that this is definitely a cool knife, and I'm glad it's in my collection. Not for everyone. If they make this in a reasonable amount of numbers that you can go on and go to Amazon and pick one up, would I recommend this? Well, this is not a review. This is a first impressions and unboxing. However, my first unboxing impressions say that if you're in the market at all for something like this seems pretty darn good. And Boker is known for having good heat treat, so I'm thinking that the 80 CRV2 is going to be absolutely stellar. But like I said, I want to take this around and I want to bash some wood with it and check it out and baton with it and all that good stuff, which I will be doing. And of course, I will do a full review of this knife. Thanks so much for joining me. This is literally like Christmas. I'm so excited I have this knife right now. Click the link, or rather leave a comment down below. Thank you, Patreon subscribers. Subscribe. If you want to get entered to win a knife of the month, click the link down below. For $3 a month, you get entered to win a knife of the month. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you next time on Sharp Ends.